And welcome in our Here Every G's podcast. Ted here, John here. As what the heck happened to that Zoom? Ted did not do a good enough job. You know what? Let's just go ahead. Oh my goodness. How are y'all doing? Watch as I quickly adjust the screen. That was a smooth intro. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. That's maybe a bit of a metaphor for how everything's going to go today. I think that's a perfect metaphor for how things are going to go today. This, as we talk about DC United, what's there to talk about? But John, how you doing, my friend? How you been?
I'm better than you right now. I don't know what's going on over there. Is everything all right? Everything good? I'm fine.
I'm fine. Things are fine.
We're all good here now.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited to talk about that game. I was so excited. I called into Tried and True after the game. I was just like, I got to talk about this game because it was riveting. And actually, really, what happened was I felt bad that they had to do a post game show after that. So I figured the cool thing to do would be to show some solidarity and call in. So
contribute. Exactly. That's what you do. Yeah. I think we were kind of talking at the beginning of the show, and I think both John and I we're over it at this point. I think it's at the point now. Okay, so let's talk. Let's actually get into this game. So first thing happens, we see the lineup 3-5-2. I'm thinking, okay, well, my brain immediately reverts to the positive. Oh, hey, look, Donovan Pines is out there. Hey, maybe he's not on Ben Olsen's crap list, or he's another, maybe we're actually going to see something from him. Maybe everything's better off than we think with him. Yeah, they've got Shorebird coming. He's cleared to play. The team was probably like, well, he's probably not match fit yet. So let's not even worry about that. But yeah, so that happened. So we see Pines out there, 3-5-2. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we tried this last year, and it worked for a little bit, and then teams kind of just figured it out and completely burned us on it. They seem to be playing kind of a more pressing style. There was a more attempt to try to dispossess, try to win the ball. It was kind of effective, I guess, a little bit. They got some opportunities. They showed some energy in the beginning. They were given plenty of free kicks and set plays, which they did absolutely nothing with.
I did the post once.
Oh, did the post? That's right, because that was a free kick, delivery. But let's be clear that was really about it. And again, that comes from a defender. It's not coming from any of your attackers. Maybe the cross is in from the attacker. But most of the part was pretty ineffective. Offensively, they look just as stagnant as they always have. It's, that last pass isn't there. They get broken up. We really got to ask the question, what the heck is up with Julian Gressel, I think, at this point. I think late in the second half, he had an opportunity where he has a breakaway and he lines up and tries to take a shot. I would argue maybe he's got some room and some space he can maybe exploit, maybe run at some guys. But okay, take the shot and completely blows it over the bar. He had another free kick, too, that went completely over the bar. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's a happiness thing, bringing the sports psychologists. I don't know, but it ain't working out, and he's now making a lot more money than he used to.
Well, I to defend Gressel there, I feel like the problem with the offense continues to be the extremely bad runs by every offensive player. Ola Kamara makes bad runs. Uli Segura makes very bad runs. Which he should not be a forward, but he continues to be. So the player you're speaking about, that did stand out because basically he looked for a pass, it wasn't on, and instead of dribbling, he was like, "All right, I'm going to rip it and hit it over the crossbar by 10 or 15 feet." It's not. I feel like there are a lot of problems going on. Gressel actually looked pretty good in the first half, comparably. He didn't look good. He looked better than he has lately. He looked better than he did at all, certainly during the entire duration of the Orlando tournament. So, forward progress for him. You cannot say that about all the players on the field, unfortunately. So I'm gonna take the modicum of good news where I can, and for me, that's Julian Gressel is trending in the right direction. Everyone else on the offensive side of the ball, though, is doing the opposite. Let's talk about Kevin Paredes getting a start at wingback, a position he says he's comfortable with and has played. He looked fine. He looked pretty good. He was, again, one of the more dangerous players on the field. Again, can't believe that that's the case for a 17-year-old.
I would say he was less dangerous. Maybe that's just a case of the position. He was not. I was not as. I remember after that Montreal game thinking, okay, he is the one bright spot. He looked good. He nearly had his first goal. This game, I don't know. Maybe my whole like mood on everybody is just muted by that performance, but that's kind of what I felt from him. It was just
he
not.
Didn't look as good as he did in his last start, where he's further up the field. But I did think he got four. I think he did not look out of place playing wingback, playing defensively in MLS for a 17-year-old in his first start in that direction. So I'm happy with that. Donovan Pines looked good. Donovan Pines had an opportunity. He actually made a really smart play in attack. I think, and Devin McTavish called it out. Devin McTavish called it out, and he was like, I would have assumed he was just going to pull it back and play it back to the top of the box. But he played a really nice probably a key pass. I wasn't sure if it was actually an offensive chance, but put somebody in on goal, which I didn't expect him to do. He did not look outclassed defensively. Cincinnati didn't look very good going forward. I feel like every review I've read so far is like DC shut them down defensively. yes and no. Yes and no. They didn't have a lot of chances, but I think a lot of that is self-inflicted by Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think we are seeing a little bit. So I think the MLS is back tournament format. It seems to me maybe it's sort of because you look at Orlando crashed back to earth. Portland lost to Seattle. It almost does seem like, I think I was maybe making it big. I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, they're not a great team, but I mean, I don't think they're a pushover like they have been in the past. They're still not a good team. And they had probably the best chance of the game. Of all the games, of all the chances, Cincinnati had the best chance in a sort of breakaway opportunity. I don't remember the Cincy player who got the breakaway, but it sort of rattled off the post, beat Hamid completely. And rattled off the post. I don't know. It's just
that's actually a very controversial thing that you say, because Bill Hamid disagrees with that description of what happened. He said that he came out, cut the angle out, and if he hadn't, it would have been a goal. He forced a shot that almost went in instead of went in.
Okay, sure, yes.
I'm just telling you what Bill. If Bill were watching, he would reply with that.
Sure.
Bill report,
but. That's still a situation in which you have to think that if you have say a Carlos Vela out there, if you have a Bradley Wright Phillips, they're probably putting that ball in the back of the net, regardless of whatever Bill Hamid does. Not that Bill Hamid didn't do a good job cutting down the angle, doing what you do. So, but I think there's sort of a sense of malaise about this team now that is you really can't ignore at this point. And I was like, I remember last week I was like, oh, we have a game to talk about, so we have something to talk about this team. I'm like, it's the same. I have the same questions again. The same questions. There's nothing new that was interesting. Yes, okay, I will concede maybe Gressel looked a little bit better, but he certainly is not what we were expecting to get. We were expecting to get a guy who was going to, provide service for forwards, who was going to have an attacking mindset. That's not the player we're getting right now.
But we also don't have Joseph Martinez.
We don't have Joseph Martinez, but you would expect, a little bit. It almost seems to, speak more highly of how good Joseph Martinez is. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's people aren't making the runs that he did. Maybe there isn't an understanding between him and Kamara. Forget about Ola Kamara. I am almost off that. I am off that.
Ola Kamara chips.
I am stepping off that ship. I am jumping in. I am finding the nearest life preserve I can find and jumping off that ship at this point.
It is sell Ola Kamara stock right now.
It is. And maybe he'll prove me wrong. Hey, I interviewed him on the show, maybe he listens. He probably doesn't. But if he does listen, hey man, light it up. Prove me wrong. But you think about that and I'm like, here's some things you think about like as a fan. When the new jersey comes out, even if I don't go and get it, let's say, the money doesn't come together, I'm not, I'm holding on tight to my money. I still think about, guys I would love to get a jersey of. Even in the awful, awful years, I still would have gotten a jersey with Lewis Neal's number on it. I still would have gotten a jersey with, of Dwayne De Rosario, for instance, because he was so, even in 2013, 2010, I would have gotten Andy Nahara probably, because Andy Nahara was so good, despite the team being really, really bad. This is like the first time I'm thinking about, okay, who's on the field that I would want to get a jersey of. That's a player that exemplifies my excitement. This is like why I come to watch the game. I got Acosta second half of 2018. Second half of 2010, Jesus. Second half of 2018, because he was playing so well, and he was like, this is a guy you come to watch. This is like a player you come to watch, and this is an interesting fact. And maybe it's Paul Arriola. Maybe that Paul Arriola is that person. He probably is. Maybe
yes,
he even looks. Yeah, he definitely is. Maybe he looks bad with how bad this team is. Who knows? But there's no one on that field, maybe except Bill Hamid. But again, you can't buy goalkeepers jerseys, so sorry, he doesn't count. And even then, it's Bill Hamid. Bill Hamid's been great regardless of when this team. He's like the only player on this field who has been here probably as long. Maybe Steve Birnbaum comes up sort of from 2014, sort of the other player with the longest track record. So maybe it's him. But there isn't anyone here that, as much as I love Bill Hamid, you're not really enjoying the games when he's standing on his head. You're more like gripping the seat and like tense. Attacking players bring excitement. Guys like Acosta brought excitement. Wayne Rooney brought excitement. There's no excitement in this team. Flores came off the bench and did nothing again. He was a non-factor in this game. And it shows on the scoreboard. It shows on everything about this team. I don't know what again, it's like, I don't know what the direction. Okay, you changed up the formation. You tried the thing you tried last year, but with different players. Everyone they've signed, they've brought in, has not been up to snuff. Yamil Assad, Julian Gressel, Edison Flores. None of those guys are playing the way that we would expect them to play. And maybe the X factor is Paul Arriola. Maybe that's it. Maybe Paul Arriola is so integral to this team that losing him just caused everything just to collapse. And it's going to be we're all going to, oh man, if we just had Paul Arriola, well, too bad. He's injured. Figure it out. And it's not working, and I'm done. I feel like Bart Simpson at Camp Krusty at this point. I'm over it. I've been sitting for so long. Oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Once we get the stadium, oh, it's going to be better. Things are going to be better. They're not getting better. They're not. This is what it is, and it's bad.
P-Town Hiker says, I think I'm more interested in getting a Paige Nielsen or Ashley Sanchez jersey than Eddie Brady from DCU.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Don't buy a Rose Lavelle jersey like some idiots may have done. And maybe they received it after Spirit were already out of the tournament. And maybe they were like, well, it's okay. I'll get to wear it. Or that person was like, they'll get to wear it for the pool games that are going to start in a month. But no. Yeah, I mean, I bought a Julian Gressel jersey because I had to pick somebody, and I didn't want. Right now, I have a Paul Arriola jersey, and the number is wrong, which I think is funny because it was the number he had when he first got here. So I'm keeping that because I think that's funny.
Yeah,
and I don't want to change it. And I have a Griffin Yao jersey, but other than that, not a lot of active players. Everyone else is gone, or the curse has taken effect. Yeah, man, it's bad. If you looked on Reddit this week, there were, I think, 3 posts that were basically like, why is this team bad? And why do I not care that it's bad anymore? Or I'm a new fan. How did this team get so bad? was another one. I think that person was doing a YouTube episode on like what happens in MLS or something. I don't know. But everyone is sort of in the same boat. We're just, we do a show about this, and I even said it, I think, on Twitter. They're like, I wish this team would lose 5-4. Than what they're doing now. And there's absolutely something to that. Like, be interesting, even if you're going to be bad, be interesting. And we're not interesting right now. I'm glad, I'm going to give Ben a little bit more credit for trying this. Granted, he's tried it before, but he's trying it again. He's got
different guys out there. He does have different players.
I mean, you said it right. You said it. All the players that are having bad seasons. You got to try something. There aren't new players coming in, yeah. So Ben can't invent players. So he's like, all right, well, let's try them in different spots and see if that changes anything. It didn't really. It did defensively, but then again, they played FC Cincinnati. So let's play a better team. We're going to play New England tomorrow. They are not much better than we are from early record perspective. But
there'll be Sans Bruce Arena too. Apparently, he went on a tirade and got suspended. So
3 games. He really had to say a lot of the magic words to get 3 games. Yeah,
but all the words you can't say on TV. He said
right.
them all.
So call in. I know that there are listeners that have feelings about how this team is doing now. 202-905-0454. And we will share your gripes and agree with them probably.
Yeah.
But it's just they did not do much in the way of interesting soccer beyond maybe the first 15-20 minutes, and that was really as a result of them pressing. They continued to try to press, not as fruitful the rest of the time, and they got one shot on goal. So did Cincinnati. It was just a bad game. It really just was. So I think our expectations still. We've talked about it now that like we should try to find out what we have here because this is not a deep run playoff team. Nothing changed since we said that from this game, and probably won't change on Tuesday. Paul Arriola is, to Ted's point, I think last week, is now making some more progress with his knee. According to some Instagram videos showed he got, I guess, I don't know, a full extension or the extension he needed to get for his knee for something, and they were very happy about it. So maybe he does rush back and help us get to 10th place or whatever it is that results. But you said it sort of jokingly. I think Arriola, he has proven by his absence, just like Bill proved by his absence, how much this team needs him. And that is how he got this contract, a part of how he got it, and how Bill got paid too. Like, you're going to miss me when I'm gone. And then when I'm gone, like, everything catches on fire and everyone wants to jump out windows. And that's kind of where we are right now.
And I feel like I talked a little bit about the bigger picture in a plan. I this morning I listened to Allocation Disorder and Sam Stejskal, and I'm blanking on the other guy who runs it. I was listening to their podcast, and they were talking about MLS and a selling league and everything, and they started saying things that kind of they were saying what other teams have been doing. They have gone out, and I'm not saying go out to Europe and find, a technical director or someone like that, but they looked and they said, you know what, we can't compete with the likes of Atlanta United, with the likes of LAFC, with the likes of these guys. We're going to go out, we're going to bring in a technical director from Europe, and we are going to completely pivot to development. FC Dallas have done this. Philadelphia have done this. They've all done this. They've all done this idea, and they're being pretty successful with it. FC Dallas has developed a relationship with Bayern Munich. You now have because you have that partnership. I think it was Chris Richards was shown, yep. And they're saying they have a basically where Bayern Munich, they have a relationship. Well, Bayern Munich will come out and scout their players and talk to their players, and you're hearing these things these clubs are doing, and you're like, why can't we do that?
And we have a relationship with Stoke and Swansea, so.
Yeah, why can't we be a team that wants that gets guys from Europe or gets Americans and say, hey, we have a relationship with Swansea. They come and watch our games. They've here are these players that they've brought in. And I'm not saying, just
we don't want too many Swansea players too, but
willy-nilly just, bring clubs in and we have don't lie to players, but I mean it's very clear they have proven them. You got to prove yourself you can develop good players. You got to prove yourself that you can show these European clubs that, hey, we can develop decent players. Chris Durkin, I love Chris Durkin, and I wish he was still back. I hope he's lighting it up in Belgium, but
he's starting.
Yeah, that's the only club that came knocking for Chris Durkin, and it's not the cream. You're not hearing about you're not going to get an Alphonso Davies story that we know of out of a lot of these players. Kevin Paredes is a good player, but Alphonso Davies was starting for the Whitecaps and he was lighting people up in professional soccer. Kevin Paredes looks like a competent professional right now. He might get better. He might start to see the game. He might start to develop more. I'm not saying that that Kevin Paredes is his career shot. He's only going to be an above average player. I'm just saying that you're seeing all these teams do these things to encourage youth players, to encourage growth, and we're not doing any of that. And I have to wonder, I look at, and maybe it's the fact that these teams all have infrastructures. They have scouts. They have, they have people who understand, how to attract players and bring players in and sell them. And all of these things. And it's just I just don't see any of that. I don't see any vision, any idea. If there was at least a vision, but there's not. And that's the most frustrating part, I think, about this team, is that there's just no vision. There's nothing. I don't know. There's nothing to get excited about. I mean, even in 2010, when 2010 was a god-awful year, you had Andy Nahar and you had Bill Hamid to say, hey, these guys are going to be future. They're going to be good. They're going to be fun to watch. They're a reason to come out and watch this bad team. There's nothing. I have no. What am I going to say? Oh, maybe Flores. This is the game Flores puts it together. He hasn't done anything lately, but hey, maybe today's the game. Today's the day. So I don't know. It's just it's an utter lack of vision that just frustrates me, and it's this wasn't supposed to be this way with the stadium and everything. Everything was supposed to be different, and it's not. And I'm coming to terms with that, and it's very, very difficult for me.
I mean, I think we should. Yeah, I guess that's true. I feel like we should have known better after Rooney and Acosta left last year, and the players we did. I mean, Julian Gressel was sort of found money. It felt like there was contract breakdown or a CBA situation with Atlanta, and that's how we got him. We paid him. I think it's way too early on him to. I think it may be less early. Flores. I don't know how long his contract is. It's at least 2 years. He's going to get an opportunity. Because this team is not going anywhere, he's going to get a lot of opportunities to figure it out. I am excited about Kevin Paredes. Yeah. I'm excited to see about what Julian Gressel can contribute as he gets more minutes with this group of players who are clearly inferior to his teammates in Atlanta, without a doubt. And it's not close. Other than that, not a lot to be excited about. I don't know how far Griffin Yao has fallen. I would have preferred they get opportunities at Loudoun. It appears that they're not going to. It appears that they're going to be playing. Griffin's going to play 5 minutes a game as one of the 6 subs. I do want to see Kevin further up the field. I agree with you that he obviously did not look as dangerous as a wingback, but I don't. He probably would have. Yamil Assad looked pretty bad. He continues to look like a guy who hasn't played in 2 years. So this season is an opportunity for him to. It's like a long preseason. We're in that player evaluation stage already, because I don't see this offense clicking without changes, and the changes aren't coming because there's no money. So we're player evaluating all over again.
And I think you've hit on something. You've hit on something at least a little bit there. I think a large problem is that either Ben's not giving some of these guys the chance, or there aren't any guys underneath that. You look at a guy like Emil Assad. He hasn't played well, but he started every game. I'm pretty sure he started every game this year, or maybe the first game.
Well, he needs minutes, right? Yeah, he's bad because he's not played, so he's got to get run.
Yeah, but insanely jealous that you get the DC broadcast. I was stuck with the FC Cincinnati Flow Sports broadcast, and it was not.
Listen, if you could get James in the UK was watching the Dave broadcast through the magic of the internet. Also, apparently, it was not geofenced.
Interesting.
So if you were, was it or wasn't it not?
It is supposed to be geofenced. I didn't even think
they said it was not.
Oh wow, interesting.
So keep your eyes peeled on DCUnited.com next week. Maybe you'll get or tomorrow night. Maybe you'll get the right one. Tim Flesh said the club needs to sign a good striker and another attacker. Yeah, for sure. I just don't think they're going to. I would love for them to.
And that's and that really. Oh, we need this. Okay, sure, we need that. But I mean, short of, unless you can think of who that could be right now, we have no semblance on who that could be. I mean, maybe we look at some guy we're going to trade for. Maybe we bring in some U20 person. But I mean, what hope do you have that the team is going to actually go out and make those signings? I don't have any hope.
None. No.
And
they've done a very good job of depressing expectations about player signings.
And that's just
it's worked on me. I expect nothing. I am like, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and it's hard when you've been a fan for so long, and I mean, goodness, I know it's been 13 years since this team was anything to talk about, when you would turn on games and you'd be excited to turn on games. And there have been moments, I'd say, But it's like spurts. It's never fully fled. 2007. Every game you wanted to watch, I wanted to watch DC because I knew they were going to be good, and I knew Gomez, Moreno, and Esky, or Gomez, Moreno, and Emilio were going to absolutely punk whoever was out there on the field, and it was going to be fun. Now it's, I've had maybe some instances. 2018 we were kind of, we were on that upswing. 2017 we were kind of fun to watch. When they gave Acosta sort of the keys. But it's been little sprints of funness. And then sometimes we'll win, we'll go undefeated in a month, and we'll win a bunch of games 1-0 and smothering games like we did in 2014 and such. But even though sometimes there were some fun moments to watch, it's just the lack of joy right now I'm feeling when I turn on this team right now is just, it's palpable at this point. And even 2019 wasn't fun. 2019 was, by all means, a bad season and just not fun soccer towards the end there. There was still some joy. I remember the Seattle game being where they looked like, oh my God, this team might actually do something. But, for large stretches, this is just hasn't been fun. And I know the weird thing is it's like maybe it's August, so it feels weird. I know this is game 6, 7. What game are we on at this point?
1, 2, 5, 6. This will be 7.
This will be 7 coming up. So technically, we are still in April, if we want to be obvious. If we're under normal circumstances, we played 7 games in April. This is a weird year due to COVID-19 and everything. We get that, but it just feels more exhausting. And I guess because you've been waiting for games, and then we got 3 bad games with some weird excitement maybe when a 35-year-old comes out and still shows he has something. But for the vast majority, it's just been not
the dark
fun.
days, man. It's the dark days ever since I've been a fan.
But it's a different
passed the pall over this franchise by my affection.
What's so and again, I'm ranting, I know, but we talk about the dark days. We talk about the dark days of 2010. We talked about the dark days of 2013. There was still some hope that things would get better. Even 2013, at this point, we were talking about a U.S. Open Cup championship.
Yep.
There's always been this this part of hope, and now it's just there's not. It's just this is bad, and it's gonna be bad until there's drastic changes. And even it kind of, I guess the biggest thing that sort of caught me about the allocation disorder is just I didn't know a lot about all these sort of technical directors that are coming into Europe and redoing it, and it's stuff I'm not seeing, and it's oh my God, we are I thought getting the stadium would catch us up. We are so far behind every other team in this league. It is mind-boggling. We are light years behind some of these teams. We are light years behind LA. We're light years up behind FC Dallas. We're light years behind Colorado. At least they have figured out and tried to do different things and tried to come up with a new identity. It's just, I just feel like we have just been stuck in neutral, and we're now firmly rooted in that neutral, and we're just going to write out the rest of Ben Olsen's contract, I guess.
Speaking of, I don't have a good transition. We've got a caller, Eric from Virginia, who I think may agree with sort of the negative outlook here on these players versus this team. Eric, are you with us?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you. How are you doing?
I'm actually not doing too great. I've got the flu, but things could be worse. I could be the entire starting roster of DC United right now. Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's just sad. And what I wanted to posit out there, I'm sure you guys have talked about this before, but I feel like the team, the parts, are greater than the whole that we're seeing right now. I'm thinking to myself, Ola Kamara. I remember when that was a name that I was excited to watch on television. He wasn't even, he was on, that was back in his Galaxy days, right? Edison Flores, come on. He's a technical whiz. He has the touch of a god, apparently, allegedly. And so why is it that when I turn on the TV, it's I just see Kevin Paredes out there trying, and it's not I'm sure the other. I'm not that I'm saying that the other guys aren't trying to play soccer right now. It's just it feels like they all know that they're not performing as well as they should, and that's infecting their entire outlook in terms of trying to be the first to the ball, trying to, it's like, oh man, we lost it in central midfield. We've got to hustle on back. And it's just that like split second of doubting yourself and being like, I don't think we can do it. I don't know.
I think it's the curse of low expectations. I think is at play here. Like, right, if they don't do well, oh well. Like, they weren't expected. We're not a team that spends a lot of money. We've had the same coach for 10 years. We don't have a lot of starters on the bench that could come in and take your spot. So it's really a safe space for players to come in and not do well, because particularly if you're a forward, who are we going to replace you with? We're not going to put the Estonian Messi in there, clearly. So really, you can't. If he could stay on the field from a health perspective, he'd play every game, and he could score 4 goals in the year, and he'd play every game. The team, I think Ted was just going through it. The team is suffering from a lack of ambition, which is driven partly by complacency of owners, because they don't come to the games, all the games. They don't have the money invested to this franchise. They have this money invested into the stadiums, yes, and the training facility, yes, but they also have opportunities to build all of the surrounding buildings around Audi Field, which are going to make them a lot more money than this team ever will. So that's where their attention is mostly focused. And until the owners are more focused on the team and more ambitious about what this team can become, it's on autopilot, and it's what it is. And all of the fans have to just sort of reckon with that. And that's what I think Ted is doing. And Ted has been sort of having this catharsis over this episode, is sort of just like coming to terms with, like, this is who we are. This is who we're going to be. And we have to be okay with that, at least from like in our own minds, that this is what we have to deal with until things change. Very down, very down perspective. But I think that's, all the conversations on Reddit pushed me there, right? Like, I think that's where I'm at. Everyone sort of feels stuck in this relationship. I'm not going anywhere. Like, I love this team, even though this team doesn't want to get better. We're in this long-term relationship, and the other person has given up. They don't care anymore. It's just you and not really them. They're kind of in it, they're not in it. But you're not going anywhere because you're committed to this thing, and you're going to figure out maybe one day it'll work out again. So you're just going to keep on doing your best. And the other person isn't. That's sort of what it is right now.
Just the way you describe it makes it seem like the team is a Wegmans.
I wish the team were. I love Wegmans. I wish the team were Wegmans.
No, and Eric, I think
like it raises the property value.
I think you hit on a little bit of and I think I've always felt that too. I guess I felt that up until I think last Friday. I was like, the players out here are better. Gressel's a better player. Assad's a better player. Kamara is a better player. Edison Flores comes from, like you said, he played in Liga MX. He wasn't a bum there. He wouldn't be. If he was a bum there, he certainly isn't going to come here. We say, oh wow, these players are better. Sometimes in soccer, maybe they are, and maybe I guarantee you there'll be at least one player who is going to, the team is going to cut them loose. They're going to say, you know what, thanks but no thanks, bye, and then suddenly they're going to go to another team and they're going to be better.
It won't be Emma Boateng though. I'm confident in saying that won't come up. That will not bite us.
I think it is a nature of. I think it's a team that is not ambitious. It is a team that I think that infects all the way up and down the line. And I think the way you change that is you have to change your technical director, who's going to go out and recruit players and bring guys in. The way you change that is you revamp your youth system, so you have guys that are pushing and you give minutes and to those players. I mean, it will require wholesale changes, and I think guys like Gressel, guys like Assad, guys like Flores would start to become better. I think they would start to, oh man, I'm actually getting pressured. I'm getting pushed out of my spot right now. Oh heck no. And hey, that happened to Flores too. He got pushed to the bench. And he didn't really show that much. Maybe something changes, or maybe but some players do sulk.
He wasn't fit.
Yeah,
he wasn't fit, and he's only 60 minutes fit now. So that wasn't even coach's decision.
Yeah.
That wasn't that. Ben has said every game he needs to do better, but that wasn't why he wasn't playing at least. So we're not there yet. We'll get there. History says we'll get there.
Yeah.
History says there's a large number of foreign acquired players that can tell you that eventually you'll run afoul of Ben and you'll sit on the bench and collect the most money in the team and not play. But we're not there yet. Soon. No, I hope you feel better than when you started calling. I hope we made your flu feel better.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Producer Brian said that we need structure and a plan more than players, in his opinion, and I think that's fair. At least if you have that, if you have the what do they call it in Philly for the Sixers? The process.
The process.
Yeah. Trust the process. What's our process? What are we gonna? The process can't be Kevin Paredes and Griffin Yao and Donovan Pines. That's not a process. It's three players.
Get Ben Olsen, get Dave Casper in a friggin' press conference. Just tell us
what's our 3-year plan.
What's the plan here? That's what they should first opening. They should have had a press conference and they should here's we brought in guys like Edison Flores. Here's our 100-page plan. New York Red Bulls and Ali Curtis had sort of he was mocked for that 100-page plan. They actually did pretty well under him with that plan. Now there's debate of whether it was Jesse Morris, Ali Curtis, who cares? They had a plan in place to go and make that team better, and to be fair, it worked. Now they didn't win MLS Cup, but the playoffs are a crapshoot. But they were competitive and they played a game of soccer that you could be excited to go watch. And that's really just give me something interesting to watch in this game, because it just isn't there. And if the plan was, and the lack of honesty is the thing that bugs me the most. It's very much this and even in, it was weird. You remember the whole press conference? You remember the last press conference that Ben had at the MLS back tournament when Charles Boehm asked him, are you happy with this team? He's like, no. I don't know. Yeah, he's just kind of upset. Then in this press conference at the end of the game, he's like, oh, that was great. I thought we played really well.
He heard feedback there. He heard he's like, Ben, you can't do that. you gotta be more optimistic. There are too many more games to play.
Well, that's, what? To heck with it. Okay, don't be honest, but tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what the plan is. I mean, he actually, I give him credit for actually coming out and saying, hey, we're going to play some younger guys now. And he showed it. He played Paredes and he played Pines.
Yep.
He went out and played some younger guys. He started them. He gave them a starting position, which he has never done, or at least has a good track record of doing so. And if you put Yao on the field, I mean, he at least showed that aspect of hey, I need to start trusting some of these younger guys.
Yeah, it's usually injury dictated, and this time it was choice. I mean, it's also because we've got 9 million games in 5 days, but
got another game tomorrow, which actually I kind of forgot about. I was like, I sat down and I'm like, oh, we got a game next Saturday. I'm like, nope, it's Tuesday. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, quick turnaround. I mean, yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's free, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't cost them anything. It's not, they don't need to have a budget to have a plan. And I think what we're all afraid of is the plan is just we think we've got the roster to compete. We think we can win MLS Cup with this roster. And then in which case the fans go, shut up. No, that's not a plan. That's optimistic. That's just being an optimist. That's not a plan. So yeah, I think we all want that. I think we would say, all right, so we think that, we've got some players who are at their peak. They're not going to be here for when this team is actually a threat, but we think we can build around this young core of these 3 players.
Yeah.
I don't know that they even think that. But Ben has, I think I'll give Ben credit for saying that certain players have not played well enough so far.
He's not going to name. He's not going to Jurgen Klinsmann them, right? Say
no. He's just sort of said the offense.
Donovan was crap, guys. Jeez, what an awful player.
He has said that the offense is what's holding this team. Steve Birnbaum was like, the defense was good last game.
Yeah,
the offense wasn't. The offense needs to get better, and Brian has said that, and Bill has said that. So all they have to do is look at the stat sheet at the end of the game, and it's clear. Not enough offensive chances, not enough shots on goal, not dangerous. They're not converting opportunities when they do get them, when they're really rare. So
Your best opportunity came from Ulysses Segura. The best opportunity DC had to score a goal,
which usually happens.
Yeah.
Which he gets one a game where he gets at a no angle and smashes the ball, and sometimes it'll go in maybe eventually. Yeah. He's scored for DC United. He has had a couple pretty good goals over time. He has. So Ted, you've had a longer history, and I can think maybe back to since 07. Like, who is a player that is maligned as Segura is with the fan base, really, but loved by the coach, and there's got to be an analog for DC United where there's just a player where fans are just like, this guy, if we have to see one more time of this guy, I'm gonna scream. And then he starts again, and then he starts out of position again, because the coach just says, I know better than you that he needs to be out there. There's got to be good examples over time.
I mean, there is Leonard Pahoy, which is the like,
true,
the
same coach.
Yeah, same coach. I'm trying to think like anything past history, DC United. I'm
hit us in the chat if you can think of a player who is like Segura in that the coach likes him better than all of the fans do. And there are no, we don't get Segura stands in the mentions if we talk about Ulysses Segura in a negative way. And he is a trier. He is a trier. I compared him to Connor Doyle last game, because the man, at least in the first 45 minutes, was pressing like crazy, which is what I assume he was told to do.
Here's the thing about Segura is, like, everybody rips on him, but at the very least, like you said, he is out there. I know he is going to work for that ball. He is going to work harder than anyone else out there on the field. And
Paul Arriola with no end product.
Yeah, and what I wish he is one of those players. I'm trying to think like Josh Wolf or some of those guys we've had that sort of you look at him and he's starting week in and week out, and you're like, you know what? He really should be sort of the line. He should sort of be the guy maybe first off the bench who you need someone to come in and work kind of hard and win the ball or do something like that. And he's perfect for that role. And I think he's a much better at sort of the right midfield position. His problem is that he's being played out of position. And to his credit, I mean, compared to the rest of the team, he's not doing that bad of a job. I mean, compared to the rest of the team, I actually have fewer complaints about him than everybody else there, because I expect more from Yamil Asad. I expect more from Julian Grisham. I expect more from Ola Kamara. My expectations for Segura are pretty low, because I know that's not his position. But he got a decent chance on target. It was near post, bad angle, but it was still a decent opportunity. And I mean, if the keeper's a little slow to it, that's a goal. And we're having a completely different conversation. Yes,
Jonathan on YouTube says Segura seems to be one of the few guys that plays himself into position and hustles, then finish like he has on ski boots.
Was anyone else finishing at all? Is there a clinical finisher on this team? I mean,
No,
Julian Gressel played at least 2 balls way over the top, not even close to threatening. I don't think Yamil Asad had a single shot. Obviously, Ola Kamara is not getting anything. I mean, he's invisible out there in the field. Both Kamara and Asad were invisible in this game, as far as I was concerned. Yeah, I don't know.
Tim wants us to get Gonzalo Higuain.
Yeah,
and so here's the deal. If he did get his contract terminated by Juventus, maybe they come up with the money to pay his wages. I don't think he's very good anymore. I watched him for every week for Chelsea. Was not impressed. Is he better than Ola Kamara? Yeah, he's better than Ola Kamara. Is he faster than Ola Kamara? He is not faster than Ola Kamara. He is very slow. He's extremely slow. But if you want a clinical finisher, he's also not that. He used to be. He's not anymore. But if it would be almost actually more frustrating if the team does acquire him, spends the money that we think they don't have, and they spend it on a player who is very clearly past it, and also not going to make this team good enough to make a run at the playoffs. Like, do we think that we're just one slow but very talented in the head and can score goals probably from being right there. I don't think anybody thinks that. We're definitely not. So I'd prefer, if they're going to spend, DP money on the wages side, I'd rather they spend that money on a player who's for next year, or for 2 or 3 years down the line. That'd be my preference. I don't think his team is there, and I don't want us throwing good money after bad trying to chase that 10th spot with Gonzalo Higuain.
Yeah, I mean, it's So I'm just I'm perusing MLS Soccer right now. MLS Soccer is doing a great job of like hyping up players regardless of whether they come here. I think Luis Suarez is now being linked to.
That would rule. Let's do that. Let's get
Yeah,
him
that'd be
instead.
fun. No, I'm all for that. I'm all for Luis Suarez. I think he's going to go to Inter Miami. Literally every player, now that Beckham is like Inter Miami is here, trust me, every single player is going to be linked to Inter Miami.
Or Orlando. They're going to be this. They're going to be the sister nobody likes for any new player that comes. Like, I'm coming to Florida. Where are you coming? Not Orlando. Why? I'm gonna go to Miami. Miami's where it's at. Also Beckham, but also Miami.
Yeah, I also love how I think I'm reading DC United's what comes next, and MLS has TBD on that. Is that they were looking at DiBiase, but he signed for Minnesota, and Bobby Wood, but he's
that'd be perfect. Bobby Wood would have been a perfect signing for what this team is.
Oh yeah, heck
like
yeah.
that is emblematic of where this team is at right now. Like a prospect from 6 years ago who was going to change the men's national team, and then just sort of like injuries and just lack of form for Hamburg. And
there was actually a game. There was a game today, and I did not even realize it was NYC versus Columbus, CFC Columbus.
NYCFC playing in Red Bull Arena.
Red Bull Arena, correct? Yes. So there was a game today. So, and DC play tomorrow. Chicago. Wow. Okay.
I like this, by the way. I need to be paying better attention, but I like this. Just like, there's no fans. The games can be whenever. Who gives a shit? It's fine. Thursday, Friday, Monday, whatever.
Yeah, cool, just have them on. Have them on all the time.
Yeah, just constant. I mean, it can't hurt. Like, their ratings did not do well on MLS's back. Not well at all. For any of them, and the game got better, but like, there is no appetite to watch you would think that there would be this big sort of like unsatisfied audience, people who can't go see the games in person, that they would do better on TV. It's not happening.
Yeah.
The league has got to be sweating that contract ending going into the next one. Like when they thought, well, we're going to be building. It's 25th year.
Well, this is why that they are pushing now being a selling league, because they know that revenue they have given. I think this TV contract was like, all right, let's give it all we got. And they could see it wasn't coming, and they're like, all right, we got to come up with some way to make money. We're a selling league now, everybody. Hey, let's be a selling league. And a lot of teams are doing
Farmer
that.
League.
Yeah. And hey, they should do that. Because guys like Alphonso Davies going to Bayern Munich and winning Champions Leagues and coming from MLS can help change some minds at the very least, and help change this idea that there aren't good players that are being developed. And I think it's what the league should have been doing a while ago. Imagine if guys like Clint Dempsey had gone over sooner, and you have sort of that development. You have different paths for different players, and I think it should be, regardless of whether they sign, make sure you get them in your academy, and that's why we're seeing a lot of changes there, and sort of becoming a selling league. And I think it's a good thing. I think they should be doing that.
To keep with the negative vibe that we've been cultivating this episode, Jonathan on the chat says, who would come to DC? Who looks around at this roster and sees anything other than a keeper and a spark plug currently on the IR? What else can we offer other than Papusas? Particularly when you're coming into a context where you have Miami, which is the new glamour team. It used to be LAFC. It still sort of is to some degree. A long time ago, it used to be Galaxy. It's neither the New York teams, so at least there's that. We were not losing out there. But then if you're looking at players that want to play in front of passionate, loud, and full stadiums, it's also not here. It's Portland, Seattle, it's Atlanta. We're just times are different. I think we still have, and I was only here since 2007, but like, I think that in our minds we look at the stars on the jersey, we look at the Hall of Tradition, we look at the way the team used to be, and it's still sort of ringing around our heads. I would make an analogy to Liverpool although they won this year, so I can't really make that analogy. But it's really
Leeds
like
United.
the ghosts of your past like are still with you all the time, and that's what you're viewing the lens through. When it should be, look at this team since 2008, and what are we?
Yeah.
It's not great. Like it isn't good at all. So it is a challenge to think like we have to. We're not going to attract people because of our project, because we don't have a project, at least not a publicly stated one. It would be one like it's one thing if you're like our goal is to be here by here, and we're going to do this, this, and this to get there, and everybody knows that. So come here and be a part of that. So that's out. 2, we've got a new training facility building at some point. Ground still not broken. Understandable because of COVID and the financial situation around it, but that means we're going to be at RFK or St. whatever the place is in Arlington forever. So that's not appealing. You got a nice stadium. That's great. Almost every team has a good stadium now.
Yeah.
So that's not really a selling point anymore. That's table stakes.
It speaks more to this idea that of how far behind this team is, and like they're just now. The training facility was supposed to be here by now, and it's not because of COVID, which makes sense. But it illustrates just how much this team, how long the stadium situation took, set this team back, and they needed to do things quickly, I think, to catch up and to catch up because the league's evolving. It's evolving every year. There's a new team that's doing something different or that's trying something new, and you have to come up with a way to catch up when you're, every original team has dealt with this when trying to fight for a new stadium, and they've all dealt with situations where they've had to try to catch up or try to, get themselves up. And right now, DC, I just feel like it's like now we got to catch up with, we haven't had a USL team now. Now we have that. Now we got to, start catching up with that. We still don't have a training facility built. We need to build that. So, I mean, that makes a difference in attracting fans to your team. I mean, having that sort of facility. And I'm sure that the place they go is very nice. And from what I've heard, it's a really, really nice facility. But it also, it doesn't speak well. Every team in the world, most teams in the world, most professional high top division teams have their own training facilities.
Congrats, you're not playing at RFK anymore.
Yeah, you're not riding the bus and using the porta potty.
Congrats. Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is that our ownership heavily leveraged themselves to get us to the middle of the pack as far as amenities goes. But that's it. We've spent the pot has been splashed. There's nowhere else for us to go with this group. We're just now in the middle. So
I wouldn't even argue we're in the middle. I would say we are middle to lower pack. We are probably maybe slightly above, FC Dallas, Colorado, and Vancouver is probably where we are right now. And Cincinnati, and that's being very generous. If this team was good, they would have smashed that Cincy team. They would have absolutely embarrassed them, and they didn't. And it was a competitive game of soccer in big quotations because
anybody could have won that, and FC Cincinnati almost did.
Yeah,
I said on the halftime thing I did with James on Instagram, like this game is screaming for an 89th minute goal by FC Cincinnati on their first shot on goal. It is screaming for it, and it almost happened.
Yeah,
but it's. I don't know if it's beneficial for us to be as dark and depressed as we are about it, but I think that's just where we're all at.
Yeah,
like we're just. It's more. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. I'm just sad. That's all this really is.
It's the meme. I didn't have any expectations, and I'm still let down. Is kind of what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. Pro Soup in the chat wants to know what we think of Edison Flores' performance. We've talked about it a little bit. He's 60 minutes fit for the New England game, so I'm excited to see him on natural grass for 60 minutes and see if he can be dangerous for 15 of it.
Yeah,
he made his first touch on the ball when he came in on Saturday was positive and resulted in a corner kick, and then I saw him never again for the rest of the game.
So we're gonna have. I think we're gonna have two games coming up, right? We got a game on Tuesday, and then I think we play 4 days later against Philly on that Saturday. So I mean, we're gonna have, by the time we come back Monday, we're gonna have 2 games to talk about. So I mean, in theory, we should have more of an idea of just what
better
the-
picture of what this team is now as it's currently constituted. I think that's fair.
Yeah. And it's really true because we've been really down on the team, but it's like, I mean, again, you talk about 6-7 games and they've all been stretched. 2 games in, March and April, March, February, March, 3 games in July. And then now we're going to see regular games. And that does make a difference. That makes a difference in how a team can organize, how a team can start to learn each other. And that does make a difference. So I'll be very curious. We're going to have more games where these teams are going to be forced. It's like they're going to, play one game and then they have to like regroup and play the next game and regroup and play the next game. It's going to start coming fast and furious. We're going to have plenty of material to go off this team, even though if the material we're getting right now is not good.
Yeah, you're gonna every player on the roster you're gonna be able to develop an informed opinion about, which is good.
That's good.
I think that's great. That's what we've been arguing. I think since this team didn't look very good. I was like, all right, well, let's see what we've got here with everybody. The New England game should be interesting. They're not very good either necessarily. I think they're on one more point than we are.
They're underperforming. I mean, you look at how they were coming out of that, they snuck into a playoff spot after they were just an absolute dumpster fire because Bruce Arenas is a good coach and he knows what he's doing. But he looks like he is struggling to sort of get this team to have sort of understanding. We played them, of course, in the MLS's back tournament, and they looked like a better side, but they didn't look like they could have that sort of killer ability to put us away. So I think
Carlos Heel tearing his Achilles is a big loss for them.
Big
Similar,
loss.
It's as big to them as Arriola being out for us. I think is as far as what he meant to the offense. But they still have dangerous players that are still in their field. Gustavo Bo played very well last year. Adam Buxa scored against us last year in the 2019 fixture. This team has, I would argue, we're very similar. I think Ted hit it right. These are underperforming players that on another team or in another year you're much more concerned about. So I think that's us. I think we're a bunch of underperforming assets smashing into each other on the field on tomorrow night, and hopefully we can get lucky. Quote unquote home cooking. They're on grass. They're at home in front of nobody. I have a feeling there's going to be lots of tifo in the stands. I've been seeing lots of posts from the supporters groups about being at Audi Field and meeting up. So I think we'll at least see that, which is a bummer that we don't actually get to see that when there's fans there because we can't. However, that's another story for another day. But I think the New England also just got done playing Philadelphia in a 0-0 draw. So this is this is good. We'll see. We have a 3-game mini tournament with our East Coast brethren here that are the non-New York division to see what we can find out. I think it's right that Ted's saying we'll see what we're at here next Monday. We'll have more data. I think the tournament. I don't want to throw out MLS's back. I'm not going to. I'm going to still take away the conclusions I had about this team. But I feel like, practice every day, sleeping in your own bed. I think this is now fair to evaluate these players, how they do.
Yeah.
There's no excuses now at this point. So there's no extenuating circumstances. They are now, if they suck, they suck. And if they're good, they're good. And there's no other thing behind it.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, so far, the big criticism would be the fear of infection and the fear of COVID spreading. So far, I mean, I guess I don't know if MLS is suddenly capped on the COVID tests, but so far they played a whole week of games, and I didn't hear anything about any positive tests or any teams having to delay games or cancel games at this point. So
yeah, I mean, Steve Birnbaum on Instagram said they're still getting tested all the time. To the extent he had a swab broke off in his nose when he was getting tested, which sounds like the worst possible thing.
Because if you don't know anything about the COVID test, they are not pleasant at all.
No, you scratch the inside of your brain with a swab, and when they did that, it broke off in his nose, and they had to get tweezers and stuff to get it out. So that's a nightmare. But I think I even think that their anxiety over that now is probably pretty low because this has been their reality.
Yeah.
For every day now for quite a bit. So I think they're probably, if you were to ask I would say 99 out of 100 of them would say, we feel fine about it. There's protocols in place, probably better than they feel when they were in Orlando, when I think if you're in a bizarro Disneyland with everything closed and like the weird specter of an invisible disease is around you and you're in a bubble to keep you from it, I think I'd be preoccupied with it too. But I think once you're home, it's just like all of us. Like I personally now, when I go outside, I put, my mask is on, but it's not like 1 through 9 things that I'm thinking about. Like, oh, all right, I'm going to get COVID today. So that you sort of like get, you get accustomed to it.
Yeah.
However, I did go to Tyson's to pick up a shirt, and I walked into the mall to get it, and there was like 900,000 people in the mall, all with masks on. I freaked out. I ran outside.
Yeah.
I was like, this is ridiculous. Why are there so many people in this mall? I'm just here to get a shirt. What are these people here for? Also to get shirts. But we all, I was blaming them for doing what I was doing. But other than that, though, I would imagine they're feeling okay now. They're just there to play soccer in front of nobody.
Yeah,
Suck.
Until it starts to get bad, I guess, until suddenly one team has 5 positive tests.
Right. The vibe is good right now. So that's why I think it's all right. Everyone's feeling all right with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rossington, DC says, didn't Chicago have a failed test and play anyway? I don't know anything about that. Have you heard anything about that?
I didn't hear anything about that.
It could be true. I don't know about that. It would be unfortunate that they tried to do that. But particularly because they had such a great record in the bubble of sort of shutting games down, potentially when even one team was already warming up at the field.
Yeah, COVID, Chicago Fire player test positive for COVID-19. All other players returned negative. Strict protocol. The player not a member of the team's travel delegation remains in isolation. So, it remains to be seen whether other players. I mean, that's sort of the first thing. Now Chicago becomes the team to watch. I mean, FC Dallas was the team to watch when this was happening at the beginning. Orlando for the NWSL. Speaking of NWSL, the Spirit still trying to do a little bit of news there, maybe a little bit happier. Slightly happier.
Their happy place is the only thing left.
O'Hara still not announced as a trade. They're still apparently working to get a trade done for the team. But apparently, so they tried to get Tegan McGrady. They tried to get this is Utah, by the way. Tegan McGrady and Ashley Hatch, and the team said no. The team is very much like, I mean, sure, yeah, I guess O'Hara maybe helps us as a former national team player, and maybe there's some interest. My wife is very excited. She wants the team to. She says she will become a more interested Washington Spirit fan if they make this trade. But I think the team's taking a hard line of, well, from a soccer side, she's kind of a surplus, so you gotta make it
worth our while.
Yeah, make it worth our while. We're not giving away the house to get her.
We're an asset that you don't want to lose. So. The Spirit are in a very strong bargaining position here. You would assume they really could do what they want, and they're not going to give away anybody that they don't want to. So it's what you want. It's what you hope to. It's the best spot you want to be in. Rose Lavelle, I don't think is Sam. I only bring her up. It makes me sad every time I think about it. But Sam Mewis is already playing for Man City. She played her first game today. Scored a goal and had 2 assists in her first game. So I'm actually kind of excited to see. Some people are concerned that what this says about the NWSL, having all these players go play. I mean, there's 10 reasons why they're doing it right now. Money, the fact that they're playing, and they have COVID under much tighter control. But I think what it does is say that most of these players are going to come back. If these players come and light it up in WSL, which I think they will, I think it just says that NWSL and the American player are still number one. Like it just says that like this is the top product. And I think it also means that as it is a top product, they're going to have to start paying players more. The allocation system that they're working for the U.S. national team players is not long-term conducive to strengthen that league, particularly if WSL is going to start spending money. Teams in Spain are starting to spend money. Teams in Germany are starting to spend money on their women's teams. You got to be ready. The world is now waking up to the fact that people want to watch women's soccer and will pay to see it. And but in the short term, this is great I think it's a good advertisement for the American player if they go over there and just beat the snot out of WSL teams.
Yeah, no, it's it's a nature, and it's a situation where the league's not there yet. I still say the NWSL is still the top league, but it's maybe I think it's narrower than maybe people want to give it credit for, and I think it's on its way to being because what you have to think about is teams like PSG, teams like Lyon, they all have money to spend. They have the ability to spend that money, and it doesn't comparatively to how much they have to spend on the men's side. The women's side is certainly not there. So they don't. It's the comparative resources they have to put in to make their teams better and to make their teams good. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that it kind of is what it is right now, and it's not a good thing. I mean, I wish that it would cost more to because then the female players would be getting paid more.
Yep.
But it is what it is right now, and that's what you're seeing is a lot of teams saying, hey, we take 2 million of that 80 million we paid for whatever, and we can basically fund an entire women's team and be better. I think what was it? Liverpool spent like $1 million on a light show and everything for their first tournament, and Kim McCauley said, you could take that money and you would have like the third or fourth best women's team in the world. It's like that's what the nature it is, and I think they're seeing it now as a small investment, big reward, because people are willing to start to watch it now, at least in certain places, because a lot of these players are getting more press, becoming more famous in Europe, more famous, and especially the United States as well. And getting the U.S. women's players is also huge as well, because those players drive a lot of eyeballs, especially in the United States. So be on the lookout. If U.S. Soccer ever says, all right, NWSL, you're on your own, I would project some will still stay in the U.S., but it's not going to be as many as you would think, or it's going to be literally a selling league where you're going to have players that are going to be drafted into NWSL, maybe play a season or two, and then go off to Europe.
It would be so short-sighted. They have a natural advantage right now.
Yeah,
and if
I think some teams will spend. Some teams will spend. I don't know if I don't know the spirit of that team. I don't know.
I don't know that they're not. I don't know that they're not actually. Yeah. I don't know if they're capitalized to spend, but I feel like they have spent on other elements much more than they have previously on other under ownership, as far as technical staff goes, as far as preseason trips, as far as amenities, as far as housing, as far as all those things. They're improved leaps and bounds. The thing right now is that it's not the market for players isn't one like the men's side where there's just money to be spent. I'm just going to go grab whatever player I want when it's going to cost what it's going to cost. Like the NWSL player acquisition mechanism is, if you thought MLS is wacky, this is wackier. So I think you're right. I think what it's going to come down to is how much money is the league generating? Is the league now profitable? Okay, first step, is it profitable? It seems to be. Great. Let's get in that way. If they take the reins off some of the teams and say you want to spend, and national team players, if you want to go play abroad, you can. Right now, they're still not allowed to, because if a term of their national team contract is that they play in NWSL, they get rid of that. The only thing that's going to keep them here is money. And I feel like some teams, PSG, Lyon has so much money they bought an NWSL franchise on a lark. I feel like they're just like, sure, we'll buy you guys. That's nothing. That's pocket change to us. But they're going to have to, unless they want to give up the head start advantage they've got, and they've built a small but devoted and growing fan base. And I think through CBS, I think they're going to continue to do that. They've got to figure out a way to capitalize these franchises enough that they can spend to keep their players and not lose. They're going to lose some, but they've got to keep their best of them and stay competitive. I want to see them. I want to see them beat Lyon in Challenge Cups every year. I don't want to see them lose that advantage where they're already at.
Yeah, and not only that, just spend money to keep players and attract and bring in players. I mean, there's a lot of players. I mean, look at I see. What worries me is I look at the players who played really well in NWSL and now who aren't national team players like Sam Kerr, who left because Chelsea said we'll come and pay you, and we'll come in, we'll give you money. And I don't know if the Red Stars were able to compete with that, because and this is sort of it's going to be an unfair game eventually, because a team like Chelsea, certainly doesn't care if they make money off their men's team. They have to abide by financial fair play, certainly. But the idea of a lot of these teams in Chelsea, the team doesn't survive on the profit. They survive on they're using this, I mean, really as a way to bring in good talent, win championships, and they can also build up, repertoire with fans, with attract new fans, a new type of fan, and they can kind of bring people in that way by having these teams. The problem is that, you look at, there have been several leagues. The NWSL is the longest lasting women's professional league in America. We've had, 2 leagues now? 2 leagues have collapsed. WUSA collapsed, the WPS collapsed, and now we're here at the NWSL, which basically had to have U.S. Soccer come in and say, all right, we're funding this league, we're starting this league. First step, here's all the U.S. women's national team players. You got to play. You got to play here. You got to play for one team here. Pick, we'll let you, talk to us. We'll figure out, who plays where, and we'll figure out the logistics there. I mean, that's what it took to get the league at this point, because they had tried doing it, the private way, and a lot of these owners, like the Spirit, aren't associated with it. They was like, we got another call coming in. Oh my goodness, I was about ready to to put it in. Hey, Rich, what's going on?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
Rich, I have a feeling you want to talk about a certain defensive midfielder.
Oh, Moreno. The invisible midfielder, you mean? Oh. Dude, I was watching him. I was just focusing on him during the game, how he would maneuver into open space and cover nobody. He's staying away from everybody like he's hot potato or something. But
he's not had a good start of 2020. That's undeniable.
No. Well, he's never contributed anything offensively. I don't think you can convince me of that.
Nope. No, we're not.
So
won't try.
But what really disappoints me is that Ben seems to be a lot like a certain U.S. team coach who had a penchant for playing players out of position in places he could see that they belonged, in formations that were totally alien to anybody else playing soccer. 7 defenders. Stuff like that. So, I mean, Ben is reminding me of Jurgen Klinsmann in the fact that instead of playing forming his scheme to fit the people he has, he just crams people into wherever hey, Segura, he'll make a great attacker, yes. Or let's just play our 2 young guys at wingback,
Let's not besmirch the name of Ben Olsen by comparing him to Jurgen Klinsmann. Okay, I will stop short of that. Jurgen, there's a lot wrong with Jurgen about mainly coming from how he manages players and personalities, and in the fact that he doesn't, and he just says, "I'm the coach. I can do whatever you want. I can do whatever I want," basically. And Ben at least does. People do still say he still kind of is a player's coach in a lot of ways. So I think a little bit unfair to him.
I think Ben has also tried putting players in the right positions too, and they haven't played ball there either.
Yeah.
So he's now putting them in weird positions.
He started the season doing exactly, and I feel like he starts every year doing exactly what we would expect him to do, or what we think he should do, and he does it, and sometimes it doesn't work, and then he tries different things and new things, and sometimes that includes playing a right midfielder as a striker. But he does.
To continue the analogy about relationships, we're now in the 20-year itch span with Ben. He's like, let's try weird stuff. Like, what do you want to do? You want to get an RV and drive across country? How about let's get 5 dogs? Like, that's sort of where we're at with formation changes and putting Paredes at wingback.
I'm about to take our RV across country next month.
Sorry, Rich. I mean, it's not what
not
I said.
Kidding.
Okay. Listen, I'd love an RV. My wife's listening. RV would be great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've been with us the whole show, but we spent a good portion of the show sort of venting our spleens and saying that that this team is not where we want it to be. But the team is. I mean, we've had a long enough stretch now that we should recalibrate our expectations, and they're a lot lower than they would have been otherwise. And until things change that are beyond the coach, that this team will continue to be where it is, even though we'd like it to be elsewhere.
Well, let me tell you, I recalibrated my expectations, and when they called me to say, "Look, we want to just reflip your money over to next year. I said, tell you what, I feel like the only way that I have to say anything is to just quit and just cancel my subscription. So unless you can get somebody of importance at the team to call me and say they hear me and they understand I don't want to watch soccer where we're playing for a 0-0 tie, that, you know, then I'll renew. If you just have one guy call me or email me and say, I hear you. But they didn't do that, so I can't.
Seriously?
I seriously did. And
That's
I'm
unfortunate.
a long-time guy. I mean,
I don't blame you for saying. I'm surprised that the team, it cost them nothing to contact you
Nothing.
and say, I hear you.
I think that was a fair offer. Just say, I hear you. All they had to say. 3 words, I hear you.
That is surprising and unfortunate. I feel like they definitely should have done that. But that is, and I assume you weren't. I assume you weren't saying I would like Ben Olsen's head on a pike. I would I would like I want $300 million invested in this team right now.
I want to lose. I'd rather lose 3-2, 4-3, whatever. I don't care. Score the goal. Get the young guys out there. I want to see Griffin Yao. I want to see all the young guys. It just it didn't seem that much to just have one of them call me and say, "Hey, look, we understand. We're going to try to get more offensive and do some stuff, and we're not going to play defensive ball for the rest of the year."
I know we have people with the team who listen to us. If anybody wants to give Rich a call and get some 2021 tickets sold, do it. I think you should. Particularly with how much of a challenge it will be sell season tickets next year to people. Particularly if this season goes the way we feel it's going to go. So do that. Do you have anything else you want to talk about, or are you sufficiently depressed?
I hate to run you over. I mean, I just think that Ben got a reprieve because Rooney came in and said, "You know what? We're not playing that way," and he just drove the team forward. He said, "Okay, boys, we're going forward." And then you saw in the tournament when Higuain got in there, he said, "Okay, boys, we're going forward." And they just don't have a guy who's doing that right now, and they need to find that guy. That's just the thing I think.
Paul Areola, and hopefully his knee is magically healing.
Paul will do that. He will do that. I agree with you.
We need more of him though. Like the challenge is like leadership and like that's not talent. That's just like that's mindset, and like that's a thing you can just decide to be and do. And who is the leader? Who is the offensive leader on this team on the field right now?
No one.
There's not one.
Yeah.
Right, and he's not. He can play 30 minutes a game.
30. He plays 35 minutes, and he has maybe like half of his ankle or whatever he tore.
Right, so, and he's doing his best with coming off knee surgery, right? Like so, it's
his knee. Sorry, yeah, I forget what his ankle or knee, but
so yeah.
Well, do what they did with
I
Wayne. Play him at defensive midfielder.
Yeah, goalie. Let's just get all the way weird. We'll just everybody pass the gloves around. Put Bill out in the field.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay, if you play 3 center backs, 2 wing backs, do you really need 2 defensive midfielders?
we have more defenders than we have attackers.
And
So
more
it's literally just
confident.
it's asset allocation. We got a lot of defenders. You got to fit them on the
Well,
field.
you play 4 defenders. You play 4 defenders and 2 defensive midfielders. I mean, the math's not exactly like it's not. I mean, you just have one more defensive. I don't know. I don't see that as the issue. They could make a formation like that work with the guys out there if the offense was more in sync, and they're not. So, all right, Rich. I think we're gonna go ahead and let you go, man. You got any last thoughts?
Okay. Nah.
Take care, Rich.
Vamos United. Yeah.
I'm going to still watch. I'm still a fan.
Yep,
Yeah.
we all will.
Can't get
Yep,
it out.
absolutely. Team, call
Okay.
Rich.
Call Rich.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you. Brian wants to know if we have starting lineup predictions for tomorrow. I know Black and Red. I know Goff has predicted the exact same lineup, except for Flores in for Paredes. Obviously not in the same position wise, but like from a head count. He's got Hamid, shocker, Briant, Pines, Birnbaum, Moreno, Canals, Gressel, Flores, Assad, Segura, Kamara.
I guess, why not? I mean, let's let this formation. It's kind of like, well, and this is what happened last year where it sort of worked for a little bit and till it didn't. And maybe this team will figure it out. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I think the fact that I don't want to put Canals at right back which is this suits me fine to not have him play right back. Felipe's back this game. He doesn't have him in the lineup. I'd be curious maybe seeing Felipe over Moreno after he had I agree with Rich, a pretty ineffective game. So other than that, I think Gressel starts. If he's saying Flores is 60 minutes, obviously he's going to start. Assad needs to have a much better game than he did, and we don't have another forward. So if we're gonna stick with this formation, you got to have a guy drop back into the midfield when we're not in possession, which is Segura all over the place. So that Goff's lineup sounds right.
Yeah, I would say it's probably going to be what it is.
I'm glad Pines stays in there. He needs consistency. If he's going to play, if he could somehow get a run of like 4 or 5 games in a row and keep his confidence up and not give the ball away and not have a horrible mistake turned around into a goal immediately, I think that would be great for him. We need to see him take a step, particularly with Briant now on his last contract. And there's nobody behind him. There's no names biting at Pines' ankle, so it's his spot to win.
Yeah,
and he's got an opportunity in this potentially lost season already. 7 games in, I'm already throwing the towel in. I think I did that last year too. But this is his time. If he's going to get the opportunity, he's got to take it and not give it up.
I think I agree with you. I think this is actually Ben Olsen giving him sort of a, I don't want to say a last chance, but sort of a, here's your shot, take it. Show you can be consistent over a game. He had moments last year where he looked good, and we all kind of thought, all right, Pines is going to slot in now for Brilliant. It's going to happen, and by the end of the year, Frederick Brilliant was still out there. So I think this is sort of Ben sort of giving him another shot to say, hey, this is your chance, step up. You need to.
Rich points out that they did sign another central defender.
Yeah, sure.
So that is true. However, I don't think Sjoberg's considered to be a long-term solution.
Yeah.
He's not old. He's younger than everybody. He's younger than the rest of the center backs, I think. I'm pretty sure.
I think he was signed to allow them to play this formation at the very least short term. Because otherwise if they only have 3 center backs, I think. I can't think of anyone else they have other than a Sjoberg now, because they have Brilliant, they have Birnbaum, and they have Pines, and that's it. That's the only 3 center backs I can think of off the top of my head.
4. I think that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
The chat here has Big Like Mike says switch Gressel and Segura, potentially get more attacking presence.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Gressel's pretty well defined now as a wing player.
Yeah.
And his finishing instincts did not impress me against Cincinnati. So
No.
So I'd prefer. I think we all want to see. I think we all want to see this team have a second forward, or I think actually potentially Flores better fits into that position of a withdrawn forward that moves back and forth between the midfield rather than Segura. So we'll see what that looks like even in 60 minutes. If that's something that would make sense to me.
Producer Brian says Eric Sorga. I'm gonna say
He'll play at some point here.
He'll play at some point. He has to. It's so many games, and they have such a thin lineup. Ben also said they picked up injuries, and I'm curious what those injuries were exactly.
Who?
Ben said that the teams had some guys pick up injuries.
Oh, Chris Odoyatsum and O'Neill Fisher have both had injuries. So again, thin at right back, which makes more sense why they did a 3 center back.
Yeah.
They can't. I mean, now O'Neill Fisher's coming back from major surgery, so you're going to have muscle injuries. And Chris Odoyatsum had a long layoff, although he had last year. So I think that. So then the question too is that how much was Ben pushed into this? How much of this was like a creative lineup shuffling, and how much of it was like I really don't want to put Russ back there anymore, and we have no more right back. So what else can we do?
Yeah.
Maybe it was that. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe he gets credit from us that he doesn't deserve on this particular thing. But if he runs it out again, apparently O'Neill Fisher will be in the 18 or however many people are now on the bench, the 25 or whatever the rosters are now. Let's do this. What do we need to see tomorrow night? What, from a points perspective and just from a play style perspective, what would make you feel
a goal from an attacking player not named Federico Higuain? That we have not seen that this year. Not from
Open
Kamara.
play goal would be very very tight.
You know what? You know what? I'm not even going to go that far. If Gressel wants to hit a banger of a free kick in, awesome.
Okay.
But just give me some. We have not had anything from Kamara, Gressel, Segura. Even if Segura scores, I'll give him credit for that. But it's just been Federico Higuain this entire season's been the only attacking player.
Brilliant.
Brilliant's a defender. That's what I'm saying. An attacking player scoring a goal. And if it's a nicely worked goal, then even better.
So. I think that's fair. Yeah, I'd like a win. But like I said, I don't think
if we lose 3-2, that'll be better than a 0-0 draw or another than that. I'm not even going that far to saying let's win. I mean, sure, let's win, but at this point, I'm just like, give me something.
What's your score prediction?
0-0.
Oh man, that's the dagger of the score prediction. There's no more depressed score predictions.
We got 2 predictions we technically have to do. We got this game and we got Philly. I'm going Philly 3-1 loss to Philly.
Whew.
Ted.
All right. Well, I'm going 1-1 in New England, and I'm going 2-1 Philly. I think a loss to Philly makes sense. But
I even said we'd have a goal against Philly, which I don't know why I said that. It'd probably be 3-0. But anyway, I'm really negative, you guys. So got DC.
Save Ted. Score a goal.
Play some good soccer, please. Start playing good soccer. All right. You guys have been on. This is a marathon. Just longer than I anticipated this show going. I think it's longer than either's predictions.
We got some predictions. 0-2 loss from DB4034, and I think Josh Law Morgan from Tried and True. I think he's not thinking a scoreless draw. He's sad that we predicted a scoreless draw. I think that's a very fair and smart. If you were a betting man, if you were to place a bet in Vegas, 0-0 is probably where the smart money's at.
Yeah.
So you're right.
I'm that negative about this team right now. I am just over. I'm so jaded at this point. I'm just over it.
I want them to score for you to feel happier because we've got a lot of shows to still do. I'm there with you. You heard me this entire podcast.
Yeah.
Like I'm coming to terms with what we are.
If this team wins, let's see. Let me just say, I want this team to win. If they win from 2-1 with goals from Birnbaum and Brilliant off a set piece, let's just say, I will still be just as, I'll be, I guess, happy they won, but I will not be happy. I will be happier with a 3-2 loss where we see 2 nicely worked goals from the attack. Because at the very least, I'll say, okay, the attack is starting to put it together. Defense wasn't here tonight, but the attack was here. That's where I am right now. That's really where I am right now. And if Higuain comes off the bench and scores 2 goals, I'm in the same boat. I'm like, what's the point here?
I think you're right. I think that's, if we're looking at puzzle pieces, that's the one that's hard for us to figure out. We can always find the defense again. We can figure it out. We can play, as Rich suggested, 37 defenders at once. We could do that, and it will work eventually. But finding goals is where this team struggles, right? So I think you're right. That's all that matters. In these next 2 games, an offense that scores a goal in each game, progress would be fine. That'll have us on Monday in a better mood than we have been tonight.
I don't know. When 20 teams make the playoffs, maybe we make a run in the playoffs. I mean, who knows? Who knows? All right.
Now he's getting crazy over here.
I think I am done. I am mentally exhausted from this team and from
this show.
From this. Not from the show. I love the show and I love the people. Thank you so much to those that called in. Thank you all for the comments. Thank you guys you guys brought some humor and some laughter in this situation right now.
Because if you don't, it's only going to get darker.
I'm in a very dark place, John. I'm in a very dark place. Let me just say with this team.
It's not going to get better. So particularly if they lose both of these games and don't score, Monday night, we're going to need you to send like pizza and beer to both of our houses so that we just make it through.
You see, but I do have a solace in that Saturday the Kickers play, and the Kickers are looking decent, and they are like
I knew he'd get Kickers into this somehow.
They're playing well. Did you watch that? They beat the New England Revolution too. It was good. You should watch them. Go watch them. Go watch them. I swear they are better. I swear. Watch one game, John. One game this season, please. I don't know if I'd make it this game because they're playing like the top team, but it should be fun.
Tell me which one.
Well, I mean, they got the Greenville. Greenville is 1v2 right now. They're second place in the League One, just in case you were curious.
I want to see them play the worst team in the league that they're going to score 3 against.
So that would be Chattanooga.
The 8-team league that is USL League One.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
We've got people telling us to stay safe in the chat because they could tell how they can tell where our headspace is. Loudoun United also gave up a 2-0 advantage in the 85th minute and tied Hartford.
Doing their best DC impression, which we've seen that twice. We saw that in 2019 and 2018. I'm pretty sure. I think all against Seattle. Where they like up, or one was against TFC, but I know it's happened before, where they like go up 3 goals and like they just completely bottle it. It's
Hartford has the cheat code on Loudoun. They need to not play them anymore. But that's we'll get into Loudoun when there's not 2 DC United games to preview and review in 1 week, which is what we got going on next week. So I might do I probably will do an Instagram show Wednesday. So if you're not, again, I got to start doing this at the start of the show instead of the last 7 seconds of the show. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. We'll usually have somebody on to talk with. In fact, I'll say this right now. If there is not someone to talk with, it won't happen because every time I do like the 5 minutes before the person gets there and I start talking, I'm like, 5 minutes was too long. That we needed a person right here. There's no way, particularly because no one gets on right away. So it's just me like staring at the phone for like good 20 seconds, just because you can't cut the videos. It's a mess. Follow us on Instagram. I'll let you know if we're gonna have a guest. I've got some requests in for some players, so keep your eyes peeled. And if you are not already following us on there, do that. If you haven't checked out our Patreon, you could do that if you want. rfkrefugees.com.
Yes.
If you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, you should do that. We're everywhere. We're everywhere you want to be. Any sort of platform, follow us on there. You'll get something. We'll be talking to you live on whatever platform you're. Maybe are there like a Samsung TV like a app that we're on, like some sort of weird? I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
We'll build an app for Samsung TV.
All right, guys. You guys have been legends. We will see you all next week. And I'm not saying vamos today because the club doesn't deserve it at this point.
Vamos. I'm going to say it.